Alright mate, how you doing? It's Speed here. For a series that started out with you controlling some overweight plumber, murdering toads and getting high on mushrooms, it's had a whole range of boss fights, ranging from enemies trying to destroy the world to, why the fuck did you leave a switch there mate? Outside of the RPGs, most of the best boss fights in the series lie in its 3D platformers, and these are my favourite boss fights in each of Super Mario 64, Sunshine, both Galaxy games, and the best 3D platformer out there. The previous Bowser fights in this game are okay, I guess, but he only goes down in one hit. So you just grab his tail, spin him around and... he's down. Not so much here, as you gotta throw Bowser into the bomb 3 times now. Bowser has all of the attacks you'd expect, breathing fire, stomping on the ground, etc, but they're often not too bad. The actual hardest part of this fight is throwing him into the bomb on the last hit, since he actually decides to be smart for once, breaking the arena into a star, so you can't just nudge him closer and closer. However, the best part of this fight, like the rest of the game, is the music. That organ is a 10 out of 10 mate. Super Mario Sunshine was a massive improvement over 64 in virtually every way, except for boss fights. I mean, you've got a boss that's just gambling, and another boss I may or may not get into at some point. I've always enjoyed fights that involve platforming in this series. As long as it's not the final boss in New Super Mario Bros. 2, these fights can be a blast, and that's the case with Peter Piranha Strikes Back. In this fight, you gotta climb up the buildings, or just use the rocket flood, to reach him and spray him down, and then fill his mouth up once he tries to spit out mud, so that he gets so fat he falls over. I mean, I've heard that being overweight can be a bitch right now, but this is ridiculous, and giving you a free stomp. Like a lot of the bosses in this series, it's 3 hits and he's down, but the fight's setting and premise, yeah, definitely the best boss fight in the game. Super Mario Galaxy is one of the first 3 games I got with my Nintendo Wii, along with Sonic and the Secret Rings, and a game where a later HD port would make it worse. Well, this is the only game of the 3 I really find myself coming back to much today, and stuff like Mega Leg is exactly why. There was a lot of good fights to pick from the original Galaxy, with the fiery Dino Piranha and both of the Camella and King Caliante refight, but I love the idea behind this fight, and guiding them into the glass container containing the Grand Star, giving the fight a nice bit of platforming to it. Oh yeah, and the music is awesome. Though it's Galaxy, what did you expect? Anyway, once you break that glass container, you just backflip over the gate with a bullet bill following you to win the fight. Yeah, given its size, it's not the hardest boss ever, but this left one heck of an impression on me all the way back in 2007. Also, you can completely glitch out this fight, but it doesn't really add anything to this fight, so let's move on. Whilst overall I think the first Galaxy game had the better selection of boss fights, I do think they made greater use of the power-ups in the sequel, especially in the case of the Cloud Flower. The Cloud Flower was one of my favourite power-ups in the game with the crazy stuff you could pull off of it. Bowser Jr. has never exactly had the best fights in the series. I mean, he had arguably the worst fight in Mario Party 9, but that Boomstone machine is actually pretty good. Sure, on the first hit you just gotta use the Cloud Flower to climb up and stomp the cockpit, but on the second hit, he occasionally sucks the clouds in, requiring you to change your strategy, especially on the final hit where the thing becomes a freaking tank, which obviously increases its height. The difficulty progression in this fight is amazing, and it might just be my favourite Bowser Jr. fight in the series. I think it's pretty obvious that my favourite fight in Super Mario 3D Land is the final fight. After Bowser's weight breaks the place down, you have to climb all the way up, dodging his attacks until, oh my fucking god, do you never learn, Bowser? I mean, don't get me wrong, it allows access to the even better second phase where his fireballs destroy the platforms you're on and the chase sequence up till the end, but Bowser, mate, stop putting switches in your castles. They kill you. But yeah, you end that second chase sequence and oh, what the fuck. The rhythm of this fight never lets up, the music is amazing, and it's a giant thrill ride throughout. I mean, the previous fights were cool because they made great use of the best power-up in the game, which they literally served you on a silver platter, you pillocks, to climb up the snakes and bash them on the head. And if you're good enough, you can damage both of them in consecutive jumps, which is satisfying as heck. And considering you're in a boss rush and this fight takes the longest out of the 6, by a lot, you might be glad of that. Also, that boss theme is another 10 out of 10. I'm honestly surprised this theme didn't even get into Smash. What I loved about the bosses in each of the kingdoms, aside from the Bowser and Brutal fights, is that they made great use of captures introduced in that kingdom, with my favourite of the bunch using one of the worst captures in the game. I've already brought up how this fight is one of my favourite fights in the series. I love how the fight opens up, The music is amazing, and it felt really satisfying to knock one of the Broodals out. I think I now like this fight more though. The problem with the fight back in the Bowser Kingdom is that you had to wait for a Pokio to come out to damage his leg, whereas capturing the Hammer Bros on the field and chucking hammers at the thing feels way more satisfying. Well, at least I can actually aim it. And also, if you're like me and you like to remove the capture to ground pound on the boss, you can get the Hammer Bros capture back almost immediately, unlike in the Bowser Kingdom fight where you had to wait for the boss to shoot out the Pokio again. This fight is just a total blast, and it's overall favourite boss fight in any of the 3D Mario games. And now for the worst. Outside of the Bowser fights, nobody really talks about the other boss fights in this game, and there's a reason for that. They're absolute sh**. King Bob-omb may be piss easy, even for first boss standards, but he does way more than King Womp will ever do. Because all King Wimp does is try to crush you, which you'll see coming a mile away, so you can just ground pound on his back 3 times and you win. Barely even feels like a boss since it'll be over in like 15 seconds. And hell, with some good timing, you can clip right through the bastard. Granted, I could never do that, but still. I would say thankfully Galaxy 2 made this fight a lot better 14 years on, but that's not exactly much of an accomplishment. This game may have been an overall improvement, but this game is also home to some of the most infuriating levels in the series, such as the lily pad ride, broken mechanics, whatever the fuck this is, and I'm going to toss you in a pit in a minute. So yeah, the Phantom Manta Ray. You gotta spray it so it'll split up into smaller versions of itself. It's not too bad at first, but then you gotta go all over the damn place to catch the little buggers, and they leave their electric goop all over the place, which adds up over time if you don't spray it. But the real pain of this fight comes near the end, where they end up getting pissed and going right after you. You're wide open whilst refilling, which can easily end up combo damaging you. This final phase can be as much fun to deal with as cancer. Serena Beach really did not have a good time with bosses here. Now this was interesting. I was originally going to put the Undergrunt Gonna Fight from Toy Time Galaxy on here because you have to use the Spring Mushroom, except you actually don't have to. Turns out you can side flip, spin, wall jump, spin onto him, so instead, I'm going for Top Maniac, specifically the second fight with him. Now the first fight with him was absolutely pathetic. Seriously, not even the daredevil of this guy ever gave me much trouble. Seriously, he's just falling to bits. But on a refight, you would expect a better fight. I mean, we got that with literally every other refight in the game. But here, nope, he's just as pathetic. He won't attack you unless you wipe out all of his minions, which are way more of a threat than he is. And even when he does, he just charges at you. All you gotta do is jump on him and spin him into the electricity 3 times and you win. Galaxy 2's final boss is widely known to be one of the worst final bosses in the series, and there's a reason for that. All you do is ground pound meteors into Bowser's wide open body whilst the pillar takes forever to attack you. But everything else about this fight is actually amazing. The first phase is fun, and actually, do I need to say anything more than the music in the second phase? And hell, even that second phase has way more to it than Sorbet can ever dream of. So you're telling me all you're going to do is roll around like a complete idiot whilst I spin into your obvious weak point 3 times? Mate, was that red nose caused by a number of times you were dropped on your face? And picking the worst boss in this game was also easy. And yet even that decision was harder than the actual fight itself. Isn't that right, mate? Boom Boom. Gee, that name sounds familiar. All the bastard did was whirl his arms around like an idiot, or occasionally fly around. Fast forward 22 years, and he isn't much better. He just spins around so much he gets himself dizzy, leaving himself wide open. And there's so many ways to avoid his shell when he retreats into that. And then they brought the bastard back in New Super Mario Bros. U and 3D World, and then bashed again after that. I don't miss him. If Boom Boom and this next boss had a fight, Boom Boom would batter him. So you're in World 5, you're about to enter the boss arena. At this point in the game, you'd expect this guy to have a bit more to the fight than even the boss in the first world, but it has even less than that. In fact, if you know what you're doing, this fight will always play out as such. 1. He moves 1/4, slams down, and leaves his back wide open. 2. He moves 2/4, slams down, and leaves his back wide open. 3. He moves 3/4 and take a fucking guess. Also, the quarter he does slam down on is telegraphed very far in advance, and because he's a Kafunk and they're slow as hell moving, if you're on the opposite side of the arena, He couldn't even get to you in his dreams. Absolute joke. The main new enemies introduced in this kingdom are the Broodors, which are essentially better Koopalings. But don't get me wrong, their fights aren't very good. Well, the second top of fight's alright, but one of the kingdom's main bosses is more annoying. In my opinion, the worst boss in the game comes from the best kingdom in the game. Granted, it's not the most annoying thing in the Seaside Kingdom since this moon exists. The problem is that he's always running away from you, and so the chase begins. Damn. The cushions only have a limited water supply you can shit out in the air, so damaging this boss can be a pain. This is why I prefer the fight in the Mushroom Kingdom. The constant rain supply means you'll never run out of water. Well, at least he gets an awesome death sequence blowing himself up. Thanks for watching the video, mate. I'll see you later.